It isn't. This country is a matrix of minorities. His words echo, they redound to African Americans, Latinos, anybody with an ethnic background, LGBT, anybody who feels less than. This country is about uniting, and it has to happen now at the top. Thank you for watching. CNN Tonight with D. Lemon starts right now.
On what we ignore, we empower. You just said that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I agree with you. And also, I know this is going to be controversial. So, to challenge all the supporters of this president, when you said to John Kasich, I know people who support Donald Trump. They're not bigots. But for people who look like me, other minorities, women who have been, well, let's just leave this to race. This president has said and done so many insensitive and bigoted and racist things that if you support him, people like me want to understand why you ignored so much in order to support this man. You may not think you're a racist. Maybe, I don't know if you are. I don't think, every Trump supporter is a racist. But you certainly had to overlook racism and bigotry in order to make that decision. Now then, maybe you made that decision in the voting booth. And then now, even after all of this, if you still, in your mind, can support this person, why the hell are you overlooking racism so much? It is personal and even deadly to people like me. That is important.
I think this is a big moment for Trump supporters. It is very hard for people to look at what Steve King was saying. His plea of ignorance, whatever. That's about him. If he's not smart enough to know that what he's saying is stupid, that's on him. But for those who support the president, this is a testing moment right now. He says he's not a bigot. He says that he's the least racist person you've ever met in your life.
He's told me that. He's told me that like three or four times in interviews.
Great.
Yeah.
We only know what you show. Now is the moment. This isn't something that you don't follow. First of all, that's BS, okay? He follows everything. He consumes media like this compulsively. So, and he pays attention to the shows. He knows that's BS. It's an excuse. He's ducking it. Don't let him. If you support the president, you should want him to come out on this because it will give you the cover that you say that you want, which is, I don't support a bigot. He's not a bigot. Then where is he right now?
Come on, really? Yes, he's not a bigot. I've already said, of course he is. Look at the evidence. This is not just my opinion. This is evidence, that data that has been, actions that have been collected and memorialized and even on tape over the years. So what's in question about this? So listen, Steve King is one thing, the president's another. I know you say the president should be speaking out about this. He can't. He can't because the bigots and the racists support him. He does not want to lose their support. If he speaks out against Steve King, they're going to think he's not one of them again. So what does that say about him that he can't really, in a very strong and important way, condemn them, find people on both sides, that he can't do it? What does that say about him? Again, Trump supporter who's overlooking some other bigoted, racist aspect of this president. For what? You think you're going to get a tax cut? How much? How much money is it worth to you that you have someone who is a racist in office? How much of a tax cut does it matter? There isn't that much money in the world for me and for people who are discriminated against, for people of color. It's not that much money.
I hear you. But first of all, you are aware and educated in a way that
are you saying Trump supporters are not educated
some may not be.
and aware?
I'm saying that, look, there is no monolith, right? Some people are ignorant. Some people in this country, I don't care what their partisan stripe is, are ignorant. Some people don't want to see what's right in front of their face. They want to believe it's not true. Other people will believe the president when he says, well, I'm not a racist. And I'm saying no matter what you believe about the president.
I'm not a racist, but I wouldn't want my daughter to bring home a black man. I'm not a homophobe, but I wouldn't want my son to be gay. Really? Come on.
Who's that?
That's what people say all the time. I'm not a
I do,
racist, but I don't think that blacks should be doing this. I'm not a homophobe, but I wouldn't want my daughter to be a lesbian. That's being homophobic.
Absolutely.
The other thing is being racist. Even though you
Absolutely.
may put that little caveat before, the little precursor, but that doesn't erase your racism or your homophobia just because you say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't disagree with any of that.
Okay, so the president
Obviously.
saying I'm not a bigot doesn't erase
Right, but that's
his
why
bigotry.
that's why I am embracing this moment. Because no matter what you think about yourself or the president, everybody must agree that this is no time for somebody who is not a bigot to be quiet. This is no time to be that, especially if you were elected by this country to lead. Because if there is one value that must define this country, as imperfect as it may be executed, it's equality.
Yeah.
It has to. That's all we are. It is all that knits us together.
It's
is our
equality.
respect for a constitution and a legal framework that makes all equal in the eyes
That all
of
men
the
are
law.
created equal.
That's right.
And it's also, we are our brother's keeper. I may not be a woman, but I can empathize with the plight of women. I may not be Muslim, but I can empathize with the plight of Muslims, and on and on. But I don't see that trait and that empathy in other people, especially when it comes to race, and that is extremely frustrating.
There is definitely
to
a
black people
problem.
in this
There is a
country.
cultural problem. There is a generational problem. There are political aspects of it. It's all true. But Don, that's another reason that this moment matters.
Yeah. Well,
because
let's see if we're
you
talking
have
about
an
it next
easy
week.
one. You have a layup here.
Yeah.
You have a layup here. There are no facts that can confuse the picture. Steve King's best defense is, I don't know why I say it.
That wouldn't come out.
I don't know why they say it. It's not in my head. I
Okay.
don't know why it comes out of my mouth.
To put a period,
that's his best.
That's a point, and to put a period on it. Steve King says he's not racist. People who know him say he's not, and then he says things like that. Really? Come on. We got to wake up.
And that's why the moment matters so much. And I can tell
Chris,
it's going to
we
go
will
away.
not be talking about this next week.
I know, but that's the problem.
Because
That's
people
the
don't
problem.
care unless
But
unless
they have
they're
to be
involved.
made to care. Politics is persuasion.
People care about money. That's it. If it's green, that's the only color, pretty much.
Listen,
I got to go.
things can be true,
Yeah.
but cynicism does not make it any better.
I'm
This
just
is a
being-
moment
I'm
for the
just being
president to
honest.
step up. Don't let him off the hook, D. Lemon.
This is who we are. Maybe we should come back as dollar bills. I mean, people of color, and then they would care more about racism.
I'd like to see
Yeah.
your face on some currency, by the way.
Yeah.
Your head is
One
perfectly
day.
shaped for a coin.
I'm good looking enough for a $100 bill. Thank you, Chris. I'll see you soon. Hey, this is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. Tonight I want to talk to you about what we heard from William Barr, the president's nominee for Attorney General, and what the president himself might be thinking tonight now that he has heard that Barr, what he's had to say to senators of the Judiciary Committee. The president just might be wondering, whatever happened to the guy who wrote that 19-page memo arguing that Robert Mueller's investigation of whether the president obstructed justice was fatally misconceived?
I will follow the special counsel regulations scrupulously and in good faith, and on my watch, Bob will be allowed to finish his work.
You heard that. On my watch, Bob will be allowed to finish his work. Here's why that is important, okay? Because Mueller revealing new evidence today in a heavily redacted court filing. Here it is, 188 pages, detailing Paul Manafort's lies about his contact with Team Trump well into the president's term. 188 pages. Mueller also revealing that Manafort has told a grand jury about a face-to-face meeting with Russian Konstantin Kilimnik. Mueller is keeping details secret of what the meeting was about and when it took place. But it's more evidence that Kilimnik may be a key part of Mueller's investigation, an investigation that appears to be far from over, given the news today that Mueller says Manafort's associate Rick Gates still cooperating with Mueller's team. And that's not the only investigation casting a shadow over the Trump White House right now. I want you to listen to what Barr says about what he'd do if the president tried to derail the investigation into the Southern District of New York.
If the president sought to fire prosecutors in the Southern District of New York to try and end the investigation into his campaign, would that be a crime? Would that be an unlawful act?
Well, I mean, that one, usually firing a person doesn't stop the investigation. That's one of the things I have a little bit of trouble accepting. But the basic point is, if someone tried to stop a bona fide lawful investigation to cover up wrongdoing, I would resign.
Barr had a lot to say today that may not have made the president 100% happy, including this about the president's favorite slam on Mueller's investigation.
Do you believe Mr. Mueller would be involved in a witch hunt against anybody?
I don't believe Mr. Mueller would be involved in a witch hunt.
You know what the president says about that?
It's a total witch hunt. I've been saying it for a long time. It's a witch hunt. That's all it is. They have phony witch hunts. Witch hunt continues. The entire thing has been a witch hunt. I call it the rigged witch hunt. The witch hunt, as I call it, should never have taken place.
And then there's Bill Barr's description of his first meeting with President Trump, the president, in June of 2017, back when he was being considered for the president's legal defense team. The president wanted to know how well Barr knows Mueller.
Essentially, the president wanted to know, he said, oh, you know Bob Mueller. How well do you know Bob Mueller? And I told him how well I knew Bob Mueller and how, the Barrs and Muellers were good friends and would be good friends when this is all over and so forth.
And you know what the president thinks about Mueller's friends? He told the Daily Caller in September, quote, I could give you 100 pictures of him and Comey hugging and kissing each other. You know, he's Comey's best friend. Not so much. Comey told Congress last month he admires Mueller, but they're not friends. And then there's this. In response to Rudy Giuliani's claim that the president should be able to correct Mueller's report before it goes public.
The president's attorney, Mr. Giuliani, said the president should be able to correct the Mueller report before any public release. So in other words, he could take this investigative report, put his own spin on it, and correct it before it's released. Do you commit that would not happen if you were Attorney General?
That will not happen.
Uh-oh. Is the president having some buyer's remorse tonight? After all, we all know what happens when he sours on his AG.
I think of a great man, and I want to just introduce you to him for a sec. Do you know who I'm talking about? Senator Jeff Sessions. I told you before, I'm very disappointed with the Attorney General, but we will see what happens. Time will tell. Time will tell. The Attorney General made a terrible mistake when he did this and when he recused himself, or he should have certainly let us know if he was going to recuse himself, and we would have put a different Attorney General in. So he made what I consider to be a very terrible mistake for the country.
He took the job, and then he said, I'm going to recuse myself. I said, what kind of a man is this? And by the way, he was on the campaign. You know, the only reason I gave him the job because I felt loyalty. Jeff Sessions should have never let it happen. He should have never recused himself. Why wouldn't he say, I'm going to recuse myself? I wouldn't have put him in that position.
Or is this all about the president choosing a nominee who could be confirmed, or with the experience to win over the Senate? One who vowed to protect the integrity of the Justice Department. And then there's the elephant in the room over in the House. Members passing a disapproval vote over Congressman Steve King's remarks. That vote, 424-1. That one no vote was not Congressman King. He voted for the resolution against him, while still sounding like he is making excuses for himself.
That ideology never shows up in my head. I don't know how it could possibly come out of my mouth.
But it is not like Steve King hasn't been totally upfront about his hateful views. His latest comment, the one that prompted today's vote, telling the New York Times, and this is a quote, white nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization, how did that language become offensive? Oh, but there is more. I want you to listen to this. This was during the 2016 Republican convention.
I'd ask you to go back through history and figure out where are these contributions that have been made by these other categories of people that you're talking about. Where did any other subgroup of people contribute more to civilization?
I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. Subgroup of people? Yeah, he said that. We've talked before about his long history of saying things like this about the children of undocumented immigrants.
For everyone who's a valedictorian, there's another 100 out there that they weigh 130 pounds and they've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert.
You can overlook that too, right? Remember, he used to keep a Confederate flag on his desk. He reportedly removed it in 2016 after the murder of 2 police officers by a man who was known to have displayed the Confederate flag. And now Steve King's Republican colleagues seem, after 16 years of this, 16 years, to be uncomfortable about sweeping his hate speech under the rug. But all of this raises another serious question, one that Republicans in Congress are still dancing around. You got another elephant in the room. The elephant in the room. If you finally had enough of Steve King and his inflammatory language, what about Donald Trump? Big developments in the Russia investigation as AG nominee Bill Barr promises to protect Mueller. Lots to talk about. Asha Rangappa is here, Harry Litman, and we're going to dig into it.
You've had quite the career.
Yeah, I've had some pretty prestigious jobs over the years. News producer, executive transport manager, and a beverage distribution supervisor. Now I'm a director at a security software firm.
Wow, you've been at it a long time.
The thing is, I like working. What if my retirement plan is I don't want to retire?
Then let's not create a retirement plan. Let's create a plan for what's next.
I like that.
Get a plan that's right for you. TD Ameritrade.
This is not a bed. It's a revolution in sleep. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is on sale now during the January savings event. It senses your movement and automatically adjusts to keep you both comfortable. It even helps with this. So you wake up ready to put your pedal to the metal. Save up to $500 on select Sleep Number 360 Smart Beds, now ranked #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses by J.D. Power. Starting Thursday, free premium delivery and 36-month financing. Ends Monday. Sleep Number, proven quality sleep.
Take a look around. At least you got friends. I call my old lady.
The new Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and 4% on entertainment. Now when you go out, you cash in. What's in your wallet?
Hey, Daryl, would you choose the network #1 in the nation by the experts or the one ordered by the people? Correct. You don't have to choose, because...
Oh! Switch to the network metrics and JD Power. Buy the latest Galaxy phones. Get Galaxy S.
This sucks. That better. Oh, free.
Grind. Often. 100 Give it to your
investigation.
Specifically, this all happened that I honed in on Barr's testimony today is that he hedged about the kind of information that was going to provide Congress that Mueller reports on that. You know that what special counsel contemplate is for Mueller to provide a report on the criminal charges that he wants to pursue or not pursue. It doesn't say anything about the larger counterintelligence story, like the movie that's in the background, just specific scenes, and there appears to be no commitment from Barr about how that portion of the investigation will make its way to Congress and potentially an unclassified version to the public.
Harry, let's bring you in now because prosecutors say that they have documentary evidence that Manafort lied about his communications with the Trump administration in 2018. What does that say to you?
Yeah, it does, and you know, it says first there's a lot more to pursue where Manafort's concerned. One thing that really struck me, I agree with everything Asha said, but one thing that struck me about that document, every third word is redacted, but there's a whole section detailing his lies about Kilimnik, and he refused to inculpate him. So it wasn't simply saving his own skin. He is still about the business of trying to protect Kilimnik and presumably the whole kind of Russia operation. On Asha's point, I think that's right. It's now, in fact, you know, in some ways the movie in the foreground. I do think, though, that Barr was saying to the extent provided by law, he'll try to be transparent and reveal it, but he was mainly sticking to the regs, which, as she says, don't really contemplate this very important turn of events.
Okay, so let's dig a little deeper here. Does this raise questions about what, if anything, directly or indirectly may have said to Manafort?
Is that for me, Don?
Does the actual file? Okay, the actual filing, I think it's pretty clear. We have a lot of redactions, but pretty much everything Manafort says and knows, you know, 80% of it. And of course, part of that concerns Manafort. Now remember, Rick Gates, as came out today, is still cooperating. He's Manafort's right-hand man. He stays in the campaign even after Manafort leaves. And Manafort and he, you know, talk freely. So it's likely, whatever it is, Mueller has independent evidence of. But sure, I think it's quite possible that part of what's redacted there has to do with conversations with the president or the president-elect.
I'm glad you're eager to get in, Asha, because now I want you to respond to this. But I'm going to play this sound. It's from President Trump during the campaign, and I'm going to explain why. We all remember this. Watch.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
Okay, so that was July 27th of 2016, and I played that because we learned in this filing that Manafort communicated with his longtime Russian associate Konstantin Kilimnik beginning August 2nd of 2016. Special counsel is keeping what they talked about confidential, but is the timing fishy here?
Well, the timing has already been fishy, Don. We know from Mueller's indictment against the 12 GRU officers who did the hack on the DNC server, which details keystroke by keystroke what they did, that they actually made an attempt, a hacking attempt, that very evening, the same day that Trump said that. So even quite apart from Manafort, there are a lot of coincidences, not just with this incident, but with others as well. So you know, I think that, you know, we're starting to see what is building up, leading up to the FBI opening up this counterintelligence investigation on the president. Because I think the question is, as they're seeing some of all these other things unfold, Manafort, Page, Flynn, George Papadopoulos, all kind of converging on this campaign, there has to be a question that when it culminates in the firing of James Comey of what role the president has in some of this, these Russia connections going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I want to read this to you, Harry. I don't even know if I need glasses because every other word is redacted, right? So just to drive home how heavily redacted this filing is, right? So everything that is not redacted, this is just on page 19, okay? In the grand jury, Manafort testified that he sought to redacted. Manafort was asked in the grand jury, redacted. Manafort explained that he had not told redacted. Manafort was then asked what redacted. After a lunch break, Manafort redacted. Manafort's false and misleading statements about redacted. I mean, it's a full page of redactions, but I mean, let's look at it this way. That Mueller knows that Manafort, what Manafort said or did after a lunch break, that level of detail has got to scare anyone who is going up against him and who is reading this document.
And it reframes the question, the always puzzling question, what the hell has Manafort been thinking? Because that's right. Mueller knows chapter and verse of his lies, and that's what the document was today. It wasn't about what, well, it was about what Manafort said, but it was the documentation of why it was false. He knows it from Gates. He maybe knows it from intercepted communications. And, you know, as Asha says, that the overall criminal investigation has almost been reframed now in counterintelligence terms as all about Russia's interference in the election. And this is where, you know, Manafort is front and center.
Harry, what did you think about Barr today in the Senate?
Yeah. So to me, he was really straight by the book. The thing that impressed me, he sold me on this notion. He's 68 years old. He has no reason not to play it straight by the book. He struck me, and from having worked with him, I already felt this as somebody who would stand up to the president without hesitation and walk away if he needed to. He also allayed some fears I had and have written about some extreme legal views. I think there were things for both sides, but generally the picture of him as his own person, well-grounded, very smart, I thought came through pretty solid.
But how is that different than any, when you look at the type of person who this president has appointed, has been in the administration, they're all older men who quite honestly are at the end of their careers, had the opportunity to stand up to this president and didn't. Either they were fired or left and the president talked smack about them. How is he any different?
Yeah. Well, first, he's have a much different stripe on, it seems to me. I mean, you could tell from the conversation itself. Second, I don't think that many of the people in his cabinet have ambition behind them for whatever reason. But Barr certainly sees this as his last stop. But the final point is, his character, look, we could be proven wrong. Donald Trump seems to bring out the worst in everybody. But it seemed to me it was the irresistible force that he was, or the immovable object that he would be confronting in Barr. Barr just struck me as solid and a rule of law institutionalist guy. It wouldn't be the first time that Trump had brought out the worst in someone, but Barr struck me as a unlikely person for the president to try to demonize.
Harry, Asha, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. William Barr is vowing to protect Robert Mueller's investigation. Will the president feel buyer's remorse over his pick for Attorney General? James Clapper seems to think so, and he's going to tell me why next.
Just got a job as a lifeguard in Savannah. I made fire and I want to go home.
Purdue University Global. There's no limit to what you can achieve, and now there's no limit to how. A public online university for working adults that's within your reach.
At Angie's List, we help you feel confident about hiring pros for home projects. You can check their ratings,
read verified reviews, and easily request multiple quotes. Find all the pros you need to know at Angie'sList.com.
If you have psoriasis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not a cream. It's a pill that treats moderate to severe plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clear skin is achievable. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop. Does this sound dismal? It isn't. It's the most wonderful life on earth.
Style is a window to where we've been. It tells a story. This is our story. This is what we're made of. American Style, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
You're made of trillions of cells. They work together doing important stuff. The hitch? Like you, your cells get hungry. Feed them with Centrum micronutrients. Restoring your awesome daily. Feed your cells with Centrum micronutrients today.
Hi, Susan. Honey.
Yeah?
I respect that, but that cough looks pretty bad. Try this new Robitussin honey.
The real honey you love, plus the powerful cough relief you need.
Mind if I root through your trash?
New Robitussin honey, because it's never just a cough.
The 70s, shaped by the music. Boogie Down, as Reels gives you the lowdown on the music legends who played the soundtrack to the max.
We could do anything we wanted, so we did.
Love to Love the 70s week. All this week on Reels, Channel 238. Can you dig it? Brought to you by Bowflex.
This is CNN. The most trusted name in news.
Prosecutors on Robert Mueller's team revealing evidence today of how former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort allegedly lied to investigators. Mueller's team citing tax documents, text messages, emails, all as evidence. Here to discuss, James Clapper, former director of national intelligence. It is always a pleasure to get your perspective, so thank you for coming on. So let me first get your reaction to this Manafort filing. He's accused of lying about his contacts with Konstantin Kilimnik, his continued contacts with the Trump administration, a $125,000 payment made to a company that worked for him. Are these significant?
Well, sure, they're significant, and I think the major takeaway from this heavily redacted document is don't mess with Mueller. It's not a good idea to try to lie to him because the information that he has access to, particularly in this day and age of emails and texts and all and telephone records and all this sort of thing, and so all these contacts to me are just add to the story here. And of course I'm still dumbstruck by the sharing of polling information in the campaign with a Russian operative. So this just kind of adds more fuel to that fire. But again, bottom line, don't mess with Bob Mueller.
Well, it's interesting that you put the sharing of polling. Like, how many days was that ago? How many?
It seemed like eons.
And then there was the development before that, and the crisis before that, and it's just it's just exhausting. Listen, Director, Manafort's former deputy Rick Gates is claiming that even after Manafort was indicted, he was working through unnamed intermediaries, trying to get people jobs in the Trump administration. What kinds of questions does that raise for you?
Well, I think in the first place, it reflects a level of corruption and disdain for the law. I mean, that's one thing that just kind of struck me about Paul Manafort, that he somehow thought he was above the law. And I guess old habits hard to break. You know, even after his legal difficulties, he was. And I don't know whether that was a way for him to get debt relief, which I think was the principal reason he ingratiated himself with the campaign, got hired on, and then worked for free, which to me would be suspicious, in order to avail himself of funds to pay back some of his debts.
You know, as I was watching this today, I was thinking, well, was this the guy the president thought he was going to nominate? And then when you said yes to coming on the show, I said, I can't wait to talk to you about this. But I just want to, I want to play something before I ask you the question, because Bill Barr and Robert Mueller overlapped serving at the Justice Department in 1990. This is Barr's recollection of a conversation about Mueller that he had with President Trump, and how he describes Mueller's character. Watch this.
I told him how well I knew Bob Mueller and how, the Barrs and Muellers were good friends and would be good friends when this is all over and so forth. And he was interested in that, wanted to know, what I thought about, Mueller's integrity and so forth and so on. And I said, Bob is a straight shooter and should be dealt with as such. I have known Bob Mueller for 30 years. We worked closely together throughout my previous tenure at the Department of Justice. We've been friends since, and I have the utmost respect for Bob and his distinguished record of public service. And when he was named special counsel, I said his selection was good news, and that knowing him, I had confidence he would handle the matter properly. And I still have that confidence today.
How do you think the president feels about his choice now after this hearing?
Well, first of all, I think it's kind of amazing that the president went ahead and nominated him anyway, despite that. And I think you showed earlier what Trump had alleged about the supposed friendship between Jim Comey and Bob Mueller, which really isn't the case. I would like to say something, though, about Barr. I was really impressed with his testimony today, and I really resonated with his statement about his age and where he is in life today, and that's going to give him a sense of independence. I was exactly the same age as he is. That was my age when I was confirmed to be Director of National Intelligence in 2010, a job I didn't want and certainly didn't campaign for, but I took it because I was asked to do it. And I really resonated with that personally. So a lot of things he said today made me wonder whether the president doesn't have a case of buyer's remorse. His praise of Mueller, his acknowledgement that Jeff Sessions did the right thing by recusing himself, his commitment to let Mueller finish his investigation. And in general, I thought he did extremely well. He didn't, please everybody all the time.
Well, no one can do that.
I also.
But before you get to that, you don't think that could just be lip service, that he's doing that to putting on
that was not my take. Certainly, it could be. Maybe it's a misread. I don't know Mr. Barr. Today was the most most exposure I'd ever had to him. But he just didn't. He came across to me as genuine and straightforward. And I thought the caveats. For example, his reluctance to commit to fully exposing the results of the Mueller investigation, which he may not know what's in it yet,
right?
Is appropriate. And members, and I've been through 3 confirmations myself, and they like to pin you down and make you make commitments that you really shouldn't make, particularly when you haven't even got the job yet.
Hypotheticals, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Director, there's also the New York Times reporting on President Trump's multiple conversations about leaving NATO, Brexit imploding, the U.S. pulling forces out of Syria, the longest government shutdown. This seems to be Vladimir Putin's wish list, and all of these things.
Well, this has been the mystery for some time. What is up with this deference of President Trump to Putin, the personal deference. And if, you know, I don't know what went on during these 5 meetings, nor does anybody else, it appears. But if one of the topics they discussed was U.S. pulling out of NATO, which would just delight Putin, that's been one of his primary objectives, is to sow discord between and among the European nations and drive a wedge between Europe and us. And if we were to withdraw from NATO, it would be devastating impact on the alliance. And by the way, NATO serves our defense interests. This isn't a case of, you know, U.S. being military mercenaries and providing for free NATO's defense. We get great benefit out of it as well, which the President doesn't seem to understand or recognize.
Thank you, Director. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Don.
The House overwhelmingly voting to condemn Congressman Steve King's racist comments. Yet as Republicans line up to voice outrage over King's latest offense, why the deafening silence about the president?
For those who are driven by purpose, who are building others instead of just wealth, giving back and never giving up, TIAA will help you live your definition of success. Whether you have $500 or $5 million. Investing, advice, banking, retirement. TIAA. Start today at TIAA.org.
I'm a fighter. Always have been. When I found out I had age macular degeneration, AMD, I wanted to fight back. I came up with a plan. It includes PreserVision.
Only PreserVision AREDS 2 has the exact nutrient formula recommended by the National Eye Institute to help reduce the risk of progression of moderate to advanced AMD.
That's why I fight. Because it's my vision, PreserVision.
Also in a great tasting chewable.
Having moderate to severe plaque psoriasis is not always easy. It's a long-distance journey, and you have the determination to keep going. Humira has a proven track record of being for over 10 years. Humira works inside the body to target and help block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to symptoms. Most adults taking Humira were clear or almost clear, and many saw 75% and even 90% clearance in just 4 months, and the kind of clearance that can last.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Over 250,000 patients who have chosen Humira by the number one prescribed bio.
The flexibility you love. Speaking of flexibility, you the Spacious kitten. That's my favorite. Only 25 bucks a month. Watch, sing, 7 days free.
Need a change of scenery? Kayak searches hundreds of travel sites and lets you filter by takeoff time, layover, or you can be confident you're
Kayak. What would it be like if you turned the corner one day and you saw yourself?
How could you not tell us?
Over and over again, an illegal immigrant crosses the border and someone gets hurt. This time, an officer of the law. President Trump is fighting to build a wall to keep us safe and put America first. But Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are standing in the way, playing politics instead of protecting America. Enough is enough. Please pick up the phone and call 800-350-6647 and press 1 now to support President Trump in his fight to secure our border with the building of the wall. We need to send a message to Schumer and Pelosi that we mean business. We need to deliver the voices of millions of Americans that we support President Trump. And And it starts with your phone call to 800-350-6647. Again, call 800-350-6647 and press 1. Or visit borderwallnow.com. Call 800-350-6647 and press 1 now. House Freedom Fund is responsible for the content of this message.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Congressman Steve King facing growing pressure to resign, even from some in his own party. The House voted 424-1 on a resolution to reject white supremacy in light of King's racist comments. The question is, why Republicans condemn Congressman King for his racist language, but staying silent on President Trump? Here to discuss, Frank Bruni, Alice Stewart, Simone Sanders. Good evening to all of you. Frank, you have a new piece up, and I'll put it up for people to read, but I want to get what you think about it in the conversation. Why condemn Congressman King and give the president a pass?
Because people are frightened. Republicans are frightened by the president. They're frightened by his power and his wrath, and they're no longer frightened by Steve King. I mean, it used to be that if you had any sort of presidential ambitions, it used to be that if you were going to go through Iowa, you wanted Steve King's favor. You needed him on your side. He just almost lost to a Democrat in the midterms. He's a much weakened person, and they don't have to fear him the way they used to. Donald Trump, they still fear. Donald Trump has 57 million Twitter followers and uses that Twitter account, as we know. Steve King has 111,000. Donald Trump has carried many Republicans to victories in primaries just in the midterms. So Republicans don't want to cross him. They feel comfortable crossing Steve King now. And they're sort of making up in their own minds and their own hearts. They're making up for their silence with Trump by speaking out against Steve King. They're exercising all of the shame they feel about what they've tolerated with Trump and about how quiet they've been, speaking out way too late on Steve King.
So it's not about what's right. It's about power and fear.
Well, they're doing the right...
And guilt.
They're doing the right thing now, but it would have been the right thing to condemn Steve King a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So why now?
Because or 16 years ago when we started. Go ahead, Alice.
Don, if I can follow up on that, Frank is right in that to a degree that Republicans running in the primary for president not only wanted the favor of Steve King, they needed it. I worked for the last 3 winners of the Iowa caucus, and Steve King escorted us around the state of Iowa, and it was tremendously helpful. That being said, his word right now is certainly not as heavy as President Trump. And what happened today was certainly a vote by members of the GOP and members of the House, which denounced terrible language, white supremacists, white nationalists, and let me just go on record by saying this language is not tolerated. It should not be tolerated. There's no place for it, not only in the GOP, but in our language, and that is key. But I talked to Steve King tonight after this came down today, and he voted for this because he agrees with the fact that language of white nationalists, white supremacists should not be tolerated. But he once again, as I mentioned last night, he wasn't referring to that. He was talking about when did the words Western civilization become something that should not be tolerated and offensive in this language. That's what he was talking about. And he went on to say, with regard to why he is being targeted, because he feels like he is a scapegoat right now. And he says, Donald Trump is next. He says if the GOP and Democrats and those in Congress are able to ostracize him and push him out, he says, he believes, I'm just saying this is what he believes.
He has no responsibility in any of this. And by the way, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, man, oh man, what Alice is saying, I just want to put people who feel that way, I know it's your analysis, on a therapist's couch, because you're saying you needed Steve King, therefore you did not speak out about his bigotry. You overlooked it because it was helpful to you, because you were getting something out of it. Not because it was what you thought he was doing was wrong by saying racist and exhibiting racist behavior, but because in this transaction you got something out of it that was helpful to you.
Don, let me just say this. I'm talking 2 years ago, I'm talking 6 years ago, I'm talking 10 years ago. in the state of Iowa, Steve King was helpful. The people of Iowa, certainly in his district and across the state, he had the great support. I've been with him flying over his district when they were suffering from floods. I've been with him when he was talking about the need for the support for ethanol, when he's talking about agriculture in Iowa. These are issues that resonate with Republican
I got to get to the break. I'm going to get in trouble. Simone, I'm going to let you speak on the other side because I have to get to the break, and we're going to play what the president says and see how it's different, if it's different, than Steve King. We'll be right back.
We didn't dream up a new way to find the best ramen. We never thought, you know what Mars needs? A dune buggy. We didn't decide you should be able to share your home with travelers from around the world. We're not the ones who imagined one day we'd all be streaming movies, or whatever she's about to do. But when asked if these ideas were possible, we're the only cloud with the capabilities, experience, and know-how to make them happen. AWS is how.
Daddy diaper duty. I can't say it's the highlight of fatherhood, but I'd rather be here with my little man than not be here because of migraine. I had 3 words for migraine. I am here.
Aimovig, a preventive treatment for migraine in adults, reduces the number of monthly migraine days. For some, that number can be cut in half or more. The most common side effects are pain, redness or swelling at the injection site, and constipation. Talk to your doctor about Aimovig and be there more.
We just got married.
We're all under one roof now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How many kids?
My 2, his 3.
Along with 2 dogs and Jake, our new parrot. That is quite the family.
Quite a lot of colleges to pay for, though.
A lot of colleges. Hey, you get any financial advice?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's the same plan they sold me before.
Well, your situation's totally changed now.
Right, right?
How about a plan that works for 5 kids, 2 dogs and Jake over here? That'd be great.
That would be great.
That okay with you, Jake?
Get a portfolio that works for you now and as your needs change from TD Ameritrade Investment Management.
From the founder of Discovery Channel comes a new independent streaming service, Curiosity Stream, home of groundbreaking documentaries and award-winning original series. Follow your curiosity. This is Curiosity Stream.
Sometimes, bipolar 1 disorder can make you feel like you have no limits. But mania, such as unusual changes in your mood, activity, or energy levels, can leave you on shaky ground. Help take control by asking your healthcare provider about Vraylar. Vraylar treats acute mania of bipolar 1 disorder. Vraylar significantly reduces overall manic symptoms and was proven in adults with mixed episodes who have both mania and depression. Vraylar should not be used in elderly patients with dementia due to increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor about fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may mean a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. High cholesterol and weight gain, high blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, decreased white blood cells, which can be fatal, dizziness upon standing, falls, seizures, impaired judgment, heat sensitivity, and trouble swallowing may occur. You're more than just your bipolar 1. Ask about Vraylar.
What makes this simple salad the best simple salad ever? Great tasting, heart healthy California walnuts. So simple, so good. Get the recipes at walnuts.org.
Herb brined, fresh baked, and handcrafted with 100% clean ingredients. Just a few good reasons to give in to your cravings. Now delivering. Panera, food as it should be.
Hey, Daryl, would you choose the network rated #1 in the nation by the experts or the one awarded by the people? Correct. You don't have to choose, because,
Oh! Switch to the network awarded by RootMetrics and JD Power. Buy the latest Galaxy phones, get Galaxy S9 free.
Hey, who are you?
Oh, hey, Jeff, I'm a car thief.
What?
I'm here to steal your car because, well, that's my job.
What?
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 What? What?
It happens.
And you got cut rate car insurance? Paying for this could feel like getting robbed twice.
So get all state.
I'd be better protected from mayhem. Like me.
So I'm back here with Frank, Alice, and Simone Sanders. Sorry to cut you off, but guys, I have to get to the break. I'm sure you understand that. So Simone, here's what a reminder of the racism we have heard from President Trump. Watch this.
Barack Obama should end this, and he should provide the public with a birth certificate.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. I think there's blame on both sides. You had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. I'm a nationalist, okay? I'm a nationalist.
Is it different than Congressman King?
Who could forget about that time the President of the United States of America referred to himself as a nationalist? I was hoping you would also add in the clip, Don, that one time that the president said that a judge who was of Mexican descent could not do his job because he was of Mexican descent, even though he was born in America. You know, look, I think the reason that Republicans, outside of, you know, them being scared of Donald Trump, the reason Republicans have not ran away from the president like they have ran away from Congressman Steve King is frankly because the president has yet to openly opine in the paper of record about if white supremacy or nationalism or Western culture is a bad thing. To be clear, Steve King would still have his committee assignments. He would not have been rebuked via resolution on the House floor today. No one would be talking about him resigning. The Sioux City Journal, which is a notable paper in Sioux City, Iowa, would not have come out with an op-ed, an opinion editorial today saying he should resign if he did not openly opine in the New York Times about why is white supremacy such a bad thing. So the fact of the matter is, I think a lot of people in the Republican Party, frankly, didn't care about Steve King's racism. And this isn't something new, frankly. This is since before he was elected. His crowning piece of legislation when he was in the Iowa State Legislature was introducing a bill that said English should be the official language of Iowa. This is while there was an influx of Latinx workers in the meatpacking district. So, look, I'm just frankly, while I'm glad many folks in the Republican Party are standing up, the fact is the matter, they're not standing up because they finally woke up today and decided to be on the right side of history, on the right side of, frankly, what's just right. They're standing up because now it's politically expedient, and I guess the line now is you just can't openly opine in the New York Times about being racist.
Listen, I wish we had shorter breaks, but we got to pay the bills and a longer show. I have to go, but Frank, you said it, and you've said it much more eloquently than I did in the break. You said political, would you say political expedience over?
Republicans indulged Steve King because it was the triumph of political expedience over principle, and that's the same reason they're indulging Donald Trump now.
Thank you all. I have to go. We'll be right back.
1 hour pickup order?
Got it.
Rather, can I have a big meeting today?
And 2 boxes of Twizzlers?
Yeah, for the team.
The team?
Go team.
Order online, pick up in an hour, and now save $250 on a Lenovo 2-in-1 Flex at Office Depot Office Max.
This is not a bed. It's a revolution in sleep. The Sleep Number 360 smart bed is on sale now during the January savings event. It senses your movement and automatically adjusts to keep you both comfortable. It even helps with this. So you wake up ready to put your pedal to the metal. Save up to $500 on select Sleep Number 360 smart beds, now ranked #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses by J.D. Power. Starting Thursday, free premium delivery and 36-month financing. Ends Monday. Sleep Number, proven quality sleep.
To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop. Does this sound dismal? It isn't. It's the most wonderful life on earth.
Just got a job as a lifeguard in Savannah. And I wanna go home.
Book now and enjoy free unlimited open bar, free airfare, and more. Norwegian Cruise Line. Feel free.
Building a better bank starts with looking at something old and saying, really? So Capital One is building something completely new. Capital One Cafes. Inviting places with people here to help you, not sell you. And savings and checking accounts with no fees or minimums, because that's how it should be. You can open one from right here or anywhere in 5 minutes. Seriously, 5 minutes. This is banking reimagined.